Absolutely. And coaching it's one of those things because even the professionals, people you wouldn't think needed a coach, that a professional quarterback, for example, well, shoot, they could go coach a team on their own. But no, there are quarterback coaches in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
There are running back coaches, and I know you're not a huge football fan. I know enough just to, be entertained by it. But I do understand coaching and the value of coaching, and the fact that you can learn something from anybody.
Yeah.
And if somebody's goal is, and their desire is, and their pay is to coach you, they're going to focus on just that. They're gonna get the best out of you. That's what a coach is for.
Yeah.
They're not to do their own thing. It's not to line their pockets. Their job is to get the best performance out of their player, or out of, if it's a life coach, get the best out of your life. If it's a personal fitness coach, to get you to the top level of your game. And that's what the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate is. We're going to get you to the top level of your game.
What's interesting about coaching, I think people miss this a lot, is that coaching will give you the fundamentals. And through those fundamentals, you become that powerhouse, that you're capable of being. And oftentimes when you're being coached, and I learned this in the Arte Syndicate, which is a great group if you're at that level and it's something that you want to be in. Arte Syndicate, I'm listening to the calls, I'm taking notes, I'm like, none of this applies to me. At the time, right?
Right.
When I look back at the body of work that I've done with Arte, it all applied. Every last page, every last note applied to me in one way or another in my current life and business, endeavors. And, I think oftentimes people are looking for that magic pill.
Mm-hmm.
I want that magic. I want this. I want to make money now. And they don't think about the fundamentals. And I'll tell a quick story. I was with Bill Walton when he was my partner. He was an NBA player from the 70s and 80s, right? One of the top 100, by the way. And we were talking about Michael Jordan. Right. And I'm like, Michael, he's so incredible. And Bill's like, well, what about him? I said, like the jump shot and this and that. He goes, you want to know something about Michael? Because I asked him about it. Like, hey, Michael, how many days did you practice that famous jump shot, that they use for Nike, right? And Michael says, Bill, I never practiced that shot. He says, I would get to practice early and run the drills, the fundamentals, the dribble, the free throw, the drills, everything, all the basic stuff. And he said, Bill, when I needed to call on something special, I had all the fundamentals and I knew how to do what I needed to for the play.
Right.
And I think that's what's great about, I gave you some credit here for building out this program of classes. Those are all the fundamentals somebody's going to need to be successful, so they can identify or achieve success in that dream business they want to start, or maybe they're in a career and they just need that extra little over the hump to get to that next level, or to become that CEO, or even if they're in college and they're getting ready to graduate, like, okay, what am I going to do? All these fundamentals we're teaching is going to give them the tools.
Right. And the interesting thing is coming up with that. Thanks for giving me the credit for that. But that really is not all me. That is all the things that I wished I had learned.
Yeah.
This is a list of things I learned the hard way, and that I wished somebody had coached me on. I never had a mentor, and I've said that before. I wish I'd had a mentor, and I've been in all different kinds of careers, and I've had good training. Good coaching. Grant Cardone, Grant Cardone. I spent 8 years under his tutelage on a daily basis.
Hey, side credit for Grant, okay? I'm glad you brought him up because this just happened yesterday. We talk about, and this is one of the things that's part of the Yes Syndicate is, like you said earlier, you might have a couple side hustles or a couple careers. You don't have to be stuck in one, right? Well, right now I've got 8 revenue streams. Okay, I want to have 10, and I want as many of them to be as passive as possible, right?
Right.
So a couple of months ago, the publisher of my book, Mike Fallett, and he's Dream Starter Publishing. He says, Jim, I've been working with Grant Cardone on real estate investments. You might want to check it out. And I was like, it's not really my thing, but I dug into it, and Grant opened up this investment portfolio to people that would invest under 100K in deals, right? Mm-hmm. So I threw some money in there. I didn't expect to see anything. Okay, I've only been in there a month and a half, maybe 2 months. Got a check yesterday.
Already.
A dividend. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And I think when you have faith in processes and people and you really aspire to have, like I call passive income and revenue streams, and you do your homework and you're connected with the right groups of people, all of a sudden these things start coming true. So sorry, sidebar there, but I was so thrilled, like, whoa, I got a check from Grant Cardone today.
Yeah. So if any of Grant's people are listening on the call,
yeah, right.
reach out, let him know it matters. So, but anyway, with Grant Cardone, I spent 8 years training, video training. Now we do a Zoom call, but back then you just tap into his video library, and it's amazing how much, even if you thought you knew everything you needed to know to be successful, it's those little nuggets you can pick up that make you exceptional. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to scatter enough nuggets out there that you're going to pick up 1 or 2 or 3 that can up-level your game. It's all about scalability. How do you scale up? And you're going to need inspiration for that. You're going to need development for that, coaching for that, and training for that. So that's the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate.
Rod, I'm going to put you on the spot on a story that I like hearing from you, but I've got in front of me it's kind of our flyer card, the little 3x5 that we hand out. But on the backside, we've got this Spartan Warrior, which I just love. And in bullet points, it says help, serve, be relentless, be available, succeed, and never quit. And be relentless just resonates with me in a memory I have of a story you told about your coyote hunting days. I mean, I know I bring it up to you all the time, but it just gives me an indication of the type of person you are and how you would coach and lead people. Give us, I don't care what version you give us, just give us the version of how you talk to the guy in the airport. Next thing you know, you're hunting coyotes for a living. By the way, what was this, back in the 70s or something?
It was in the late 70s.
Okay.
And I had a mutual friend. I was picking somebody up at the airport in Billings, Montana, Logan Field International Airport. And they had a bar there, and I was 18 years old, so I was old enough to drink.
Yeah.
And so what do you do when you're waiting for a plane? Airports were different back then.
You could go in.
Yeah, you could go in. But I was drinking a beer at the bar, and a guy was there, a young guy my age, and he was a cowboy. I was more of a city boy. I'd worked on farms and ranches, but he was obviously a cowboy. I mean, the boots and the hat and all that stuff. And he came in and we started talking. He was waiting for he was picking up a girl that was a friend of the girl I was picking up.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had something in common, and we were just chit-chatting. And by the time we were done, he was breaking horses for a living. That was his job. I was working at a gas station as a light mechanic and fueling cars. Just had a job to, pay my bills and cover my expenses for, what a kid did at 18 who didn't want to go to college. And the fur market was really good, and we knew that coyotes were getting about $100 a pelt back then. And we both had snowmobiles, and we knew that the market was good. And one of us said to the other, well, if we were smart, we'd quit our jobs and hunt coyotes. And the other of us said, well, I'm smart. How smart are you? We can't remember who started the conversation, but we know what the conversation was. And I was living in my own house at the time. I was caretaking a home for somebody. And 2 weeks later, he moved in.
Yeah.
And we started hunting coyotes professionally. And by professionally, I mean that was our sole source of income.
Yeah.
And we averaged 3 coyotes a day. And we knew where to hunt. We had worked on farms and ranches, so we had the connections. We did it every day. Serviced the sleds, gassed them up the night before, had extra parts on hand. We had plenty of armament, and we went out and we were competing with helicopters. Helicopter hunters, airplane hunters. The market was good, and we averaged 3 coyotes a day at $100 a coyote, and that was back in '78 and '79. And in today's terms, that would be we were making about $1,000 a day.
Wow.
For an 18-year-old kid, we lived like rock stars.
Now, I would have had a different perception of this story 10 years ago because I was a city slicker. We're not talking about the pack of coyotes that walk through the neighborhood that are all scraggly and grouped together and you can pluck them out with a BB gun. We're talking about fierce animals out on the most treacherous plains that succumb to weather and all the elements. I mean, you guys were warriors out there, and that's where that, to me, in my mind, because now I understand the terrain, you guys were relentless.
Yeah.
You were relentless in your pursuit of this business. Even you told me a story about breaking down, and you guys are in the middle of nowhere. And you showed me on the map the other day how desolate it was. I'm like, oh, gosh.
The name of the area one of the areas we hunted, it's Bureau of Land Management, and the name of the district is the Froze to Death District. That's the name. You can go there's a sign out there and everything. The Froze to Death District, and I came close to death more than one time while we were doing that. So I mean, there's risk involved. I guess that's what we get back down to. To be relentless means you've got to be able to put up with the risks. I mean, you got to put skin in the game, but you have to realize there are risks. And, I don't expect everyone to go out and take a job that it could kill you, or you could die doing it. But that's part of the adrenaline rush. That's part of the fun. And then you just have to be careful. I'm lucky. I'm lucky to be alive, actually, after that.
The reason why I bring this story up and why it resonates so much with me is because when I look at some of the things I've done in my career, like racing off-road, when I apply that grit and determination, that relentlessness to go win, when I apply that to business, I've seen success. I've seen the ability to have 8 streams of revenue, right? By the way, just because I have 8 streams of revenue doesn't mean I'm driving a Ferrari, right? Like, these are dollars trickling in that will eventually be much larger dollars,
right?
But I just love that relentless nature. And I wanted you to tell the story because I want people to know, if you're going to work with us, we're going to give you relentless pursuit of support.
Right.
And maybe help you draw back from some experience you've had in your own life, that grit that you've developed doing something else. I have a client on 75 hard right now because he was lacking confidence. I said, look, you got to find something. Go do a marathon. Go do it. And he goes, and I said, you know what? 75 hard. And I think he's on day 62, 63.
Wow.
And he's told me, Rod, how he's transformed completely. And his family recognizes it. He recognizes it. He's different at work. He's different in his pursuit. By the way, he's a member.
Oh,
he's
nice.
a member of Yes.
Good.
And I'm just like, wow, how cool is that? And 75 hard. They've had like over 1 billion hashtags or something like that. The number's astronomical. You'd think everybody knows about it, but they don't. And these are some of those just little nuggets that we can bring to the table on top of all the other stuff that maybe might change your life.
And it can be just little things. And with 75 hard, you reminded me the license plate on my car. I don't know if you've ever noticed when I pull up, my license plate says 180.
I never noticed.
180. And so it's a nice thing. Somebody wants to ask, well, what does that mean? You always look at personalized plates and you say, well, what does that mean? 180 means turn it around. You're not happy where you're going, turn around. If you're not going the right direction, it's up to you. Turn around. You can all make that. We can all make that shift, just like our client on 75 hard.
Yeah.
Make a shift.
Yeah.
Do what is necessary and make a shift, and that means surrounding yourself with the right people.
Well, I'm going to end with this. I'm going to let you end with your statement, but I'm going to end with, it is my hope and desire that if people become a member of the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate, that I could bring them the value to take them to the next level in what they're doing, or help and encourage them to start a business, become an entrepreneur, or go to trade school, or succeed in something that they're passionate about, that aligns with their values, who they are, and what's most important to them, and help them be fearless. And I say that because we're kind of coming out of this COVID environment the last couple of years, and I was fearless through COVID. I've not suffered because of COVID, financially, personally, physically, and I've had it a couple times, but it didn't slow me down.
Right.
you know, and I want to share my story and share my experience and share my knowledge on how to help people be fearless and get to the next level. So that's what I'm going to leave with. By the way, I'm teaching